Friends, I want you to imagine that you are from Malibu, California, and you live in a mansion there. I'm talking a mansion that overlooks the ocean, a mansion that has the works. Clearly, one that wasn't burned down in the fires. We're talking a $44 million mansion. You got 15 rooms, you got 11 bathrooms, you got servants, you got butlers, maids, cooks, the whole deal. You got a driver, you got everything, anything you could possibly want. Custom food made for you at your fingertips on a whim. You have friends who love you. You have family who love you. You have strangers and neighbors who are not strangers. They're your extended family because you love them and they love you. Life couldn't possibly be any better. Every day you wake up, it's beautiful outside. You got a gorgeous breeze coming in. The sun is shining. You're overlooking the ocean. And nothing could possibly be better. And this is what you're used to. This is what you were raised in. This is what you're accustomed to. But then one day, you find yourself in a Motel 6 in Indiana. And it's cold and the heat's not working. Breeze is blowing in, freezing your balls off. If you got balls, if not, freezing other stuff off. And you got crackheads next door and they're yelling and they're fighting and you hear gunshots ringing out. You see a cockroach streaming across the floor. You see a spider on your bed. And everything about this place, the walls are peeling down and the toilet's not working. The place is just a shithole. It's a shithole. And you're in this moment of, what? What is this? Where the hell am I? But you have no memory of Malibu, not a conscious memory. You have no memory of that beach house. You have no memory of that life. You just wake up and you find yourself in this Motel 6. And everything is just collapsing around you. It's crumbling around you. This place is an absolute nightmare. Should have been condemned and bulldozed years ago. Should have built a Taco Bell in its place. But this Motel 6 is here, and this is where you are. Now, to make matters worse, there's other people around you in the Motel 6 who are so acclimated to it, they don't know something is off. They think this is as normal as it gets. So you go to the front desk, and you start complaining about the cockroaches, and they call you a little bitch. You call you a little bitch. Suck it up, you little bitch. Oh, you can't handle cockroaches. You can't handle bed bugs. Something's wrong with you. Now you're starting to feel like you're the problem. You're complaining about cockroaches and bed bugs in the room, but you're the problem. You complain the toilet's not working. Once again, they look at you like you're the problem. Tough it up. Toughen up. What are you doing? Man up. What the hell's wrong with you? Oh, the toilet's not working. Oh, woe is me. The toilet's not working. Guess what? None of us have working toilets. That's life. A part of you is like, what? That's not life. Working toilets are normal. What are you talking about over here? This is the 21st century. We're supposed to have working toilets, but there's no working toilets. So you start saying, okay, well, we're going to do something about like the crack deals going on next door. And once again, they say, don't you understand that crack deals are just part of life? Don't you understand that people shooting each other and strangling each other in the bed are just part of life? This is just normal. And the more of this that goes on, the more you're starting to ask yourself, well, am I literally losing my mind? Am I crazy? Am I the only one who looks around here and says, this isn't it? There's something out there that's better. And then something comes to you and you start telling the crackheads next door, hey, listen, wouldn't it be something if we had like a night here where you don't strangle a hooker in your bed? Like, wouldn't that be lovely? And they laugh at you like, yeah, I bet it would. It's nice. It's nice to have a dreamer. It's nice to have a dreamer that thinks of this beautiful world where like one night goes by where we don't strangle a hooker in a crack deal. Like that's just a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful vision. It's never going to happen. Obviously, it's never going to happen. And it's a nice little fantasy world you've concocted. But good for you for dreaming that. You tell the motel manager the same thing, and the motel manager's like, it's nice to have an idealist. Don't you understand this is just how the world works? There's gunshots and crack deals and cockroaches. Don't you understand that this is just how it is? Now, in your conscious experience, all you ever know is this too. It's all you've ever been around. But on an unconscious level, you remember that beach house. You remember waking up and not having the smell of a dead body next door. It's incredible. You remember smelling something better than that, like soap. You remember something calmer, quieter, more loving. more peaceful, more connected in your gut. But you can't put your finger on it. You can't put your finger on it. And you're constantly gaslit into believing that you are the crazy one for thinking that working toilets are a thing. You're the crazy one. You're the crazy one for thinking that not shooting each other every night is normal. You're the lunatic. You're the one touched in the head. And what you need is intervention and medication to acclimate you better to the Motel 6. That's what you need. That works. So we're going to have intervention. We're going to stage an intervention on your behalf to better acclimate you to the Motel 6. Now, a lot of people, they get this medication and they get this intervention and they get this counseling and they begin to gaslight themselves into believing, well, you know what? Maybe the Motel 6 is normal and maybe I am the one who really was maladjusted to this. And what I got to do is find a way to be happy in the Motel 6. I got to be happy here. That's the name of the game. I've got to find happiness in the Motel 6. That's what it's really all about, right? Then you have some other people where the Motel 6 just becomes too much. And even though they can't consciously remember the beach house, they yearn for something better than this dump. So they say, you know what? I'm out of here. I can't take it anymore. And they leave. And as soon as they leave, there's vigils and there's foundations and there's all kinds of stuff that says they left before their time. They left the beauty of the Motel 6. They left. We can't believe they left. What a tragedy. Think of all the people back in the Motel 6 they left behind who are suffering now because they left. What a calamity this is. What a catastrophe this is. Because they wanted to go back home to the beach house. Again, they didn't even remember the beach house, but they wanted to go back home to it. So they left. Everybody else now is saying to themselves, I can't believe they left. What a catastrophe. What a calamity. What an absolutely horrible thing that just unfolded. They left. They left. What a coward. How selfish. Can you believe that? How selfish. They didn't want to have cockroaches crawling all over them and hear gunshots every night. How selfish to walk away from that. How cowardly to want a working toilet. How cowardly. I mean, this sounds crazy, but this is exactly what life is on Earth right now. And this is exactly what suicide prevention looks like on Earth. When we say somebody who wants to leave a rundown Motel 6 to go to a beach house in Malibu is a coward, and they're selfish, and they're crazy, and they're touched in the head, and they're maladjusted, and they are worthy of condemnation and scorn for their decision. Friend, if you are on that ledge and you want to leave this planet, if you want to leave this life, it's not because you're crazy and it's not because you're broken. It's because you are awake in the motel and something inside of you remembers something better. Something inside of you remembers that beach house in Malibu where you're really from. And something inside of you really wants to go home and just can't do this any longer. Now, there are people out there who believe that this is some kind of a prison planet and the Motel 6 we're trapped in by malevolent entities who are feeding off of our energy the way I feed off a good jambalaya. I really want a jambalaya right now. Just saying, I do. But that's not where I'm coming from on this. I don't believe this is a prison planet. I believe each one of us is a divine spark. I believe we are creators of our own experience. And we ultimately created this Motel 6 experience for the exploration of it and to try to bring light into the darkness of the Motel 6. Like imagine if you can sit with the crackhead and just hold some space for them and help them like through their drug addiction. Imagine if you can sit with the hooker before she gets strangled, maybe show her a better way out. Maybe if you can sit with the motel manager and show, you know what, there's a better way to run this place. I'm going to help you. Maybe you came here to bring light into that rundown dog shit Motel 6. Maybe you did that. Maybe that's why you left the beach house. You're like, you know what, everything is great here. But imagine the good that I can do if I go to this Motel 6 and show them a better way, because I have encoded DNA that remembers something better than this. And what if I can take the Motel 6 and make it a little bit more like the mansion in Malibu? A little bit more. Wouldn't that be cool? But because you have no conscious memory of the beach house in Malibu and you have no conscious memory of your mission to do this, all you see around you is everything that goes along with being in a rundown Motel 6. And the part of you that remembers saying, I want to get out of here. It's saying, I want to leave. I can't do this any longer. I can't. We call that suicidality on Earth. And if you think about all the people on Earth who are, quote, suicidal, and I will always use that in air quotes, suicidal, because I don't believe that word is an accurate representation of the real phenomenon. If you think about all the people who are suicidal, these are people who have what you would call a thin veil. And the thin veil is that veil of forgetfulness or remembrance, depending on which angle you want to look at it from. That veil is what makes you forget the beach house in Malibu. That veil is what makes you think this Motel 6 is all there is. Because if you remembered the beach house in Malibu fully, you'd go home immediately. You wouldn't stick around for this. You're like, oh my God, the disresonance between that and this is so massive. The chasm is so huge. I can't do this. One more day. Can't do it. Can't do it. Imagine being an astrophysics professor stuck in third grade math. Like it's a gag at first, but at some point you're like a week or two in, you're like, screw this. I'm out of here. What am I? Really? Serious? No, I'm going back to MIT. Screw this. Of course you would. Naturally you would. But if you came for the adventure of bringing a little bit of light in that third grade class, like being the smart kid who shows the other kids a better way, can mentor some of them, you're going to stick around longer. That's where the veil exists, to help shroud the memory of something so much better, so much more beautiful, so much more luminous, so much brighter. Now, those who decide to, in air quotes, take their own lives, do so because that veil is so thin. If they don't have a clear remembrance of that beach house in Malibu, of where their soul's really from, they have a deeper remembrance. One they may not be able to put into words, but they feel. And the thinner the veil, the more they feel it. And the more they feel it, the more they want to go back to it. So when somebody overdoses, or when somebody jumps from a building, or when somebody steps in front of a train track, or when somebody hires a gang of clowns to beat them to death, which is probably the best way to go because it's the most hilarious. That is somebody who has a really thin veil and just can't take the motel living anymore. They just can't do it. And we scorn them and we throw stones at them and we holler at them because of what mobs do, But it's not why they left. They didn't leave because they wanted to cause pain. They didn't leave because they wanted to leave the crackheads behind. They left because they just can't do this anymore. And they remember the beach house too strongly. Now, the ones who have the thicker veils are the ones who are really well acclimated to life in the Motel 6. And these are people who generally are just kind of going through life and everything is just normal. They don't ask deeper questions. They're not tortured by anxiety, and they're not tortured by depression. They're not tortured by existential crises. They're not tortured by dark nights of the soul. They just wake up and they go to the bathroom and they shave and they shower. They do the whole thing and they go to work and they have a few laughs, they have a few beers, and they go to bed and they do it all again. And nothing impacts them to the point of thinking, well, I got to get out of here. They're so acclimated to life in the motel. They think this is all there is. And they're just having the best time in the motel. They're enjoying the shit out of their crackheads next door. They're loving the crackheads. And I don't mean to use that pejoratively. Some of my best friends are crackheads. And if not, they probably will be soon enough. But I love the fact that they're doing that. That's great for them. I mean that. I'm not casting any stones at them. I love them for that. I love that this works for them. It really does. And that's great. Because they're the ones holding the game together, holding the motels together. Because if they weren't acclimated to the Motel 6, the Motel 6 would be out of business because they'd leave too. They'd get out of Dodge also. They'd leave. They'd go home too. But they're so well acclimated here, they keep the game going. They keep the motel running for the experience. Cool. But there are some for whom the motel experience is just too intense. And the only reason it's intense is because on a deep cellular soul level, they remember the beach house in Malibu. They remember it. They feel it. They can taste it. Sometimes they're like, this is so wrong, but I don't know why. I know I don't belong on earth. I know I don't fit in down here, but I can't explain why. I can't articulate why, but I just know that I'm not meant to be here. I know that this is just not right for me. This doesn't feel resonant for me. I've never fit into any friend group. I've had friends, but I've never felt like I fit in. I felt like I had to mask who I really was. I felt like I had to pretend I was somebody I wasn't. I felt like I had to put on a show to impress people, to make them love me, because I never quite fit in here. This was never quite for me. And it's the people who feel that way who are the ones who take their own lives. And again, I will use that in air quotes, take their own lives, because they didn't take a life. They simply went home. They left early. They checked out of the motel and said, I'm good. Clean up in room 6. I'm all set. Thank you for the memories. I'm out of here. So if you have an urge to, again, end your human existence here, it's not because you're broken. And it's not because you have mental illness. These are just the words that we use. These are avatars we use. These are desktop avatars that we use to explain the code underneath, the zeros and ones, that those of us who are not coders don't understand. So we call it depression, and we call it anxiety, and we call it bipolar 1 and bipolar 2 and schizophrenia. We call it all these different things that are just explaining what's happening on the source code level underneath, which is a deep yearning for home. Now, I'm not going to get into where that home might be. A lot of different theories on that. Some believe that we're star seeds from the Pleiades and Andromeda, and that might be the case. I don't know. Some believe it's just a matter of dimensional interface. And this is, the third dimension, or density, as some people who I won't reference on this program call it. It doesn't make a difference. And then we're from a higher dimension or density, and we're here and we're contracted. That all may be true and none of it may be true. I don't know. But something I do know intuitively, and I feel this in the deepest core of my being, not even my knowing, but my being, is that we are from somewhere lighter and more loving and a hell of a lot easier. That has much, much stronger feelings of connectivity, and flow and ease. And here everything is difficult, and it's hard, and it's dense, and it's separated, and it's angsty, and it's agitated, and it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right. For many, it does. But for many who are on that ledge, who are walking that ledge, it doesn't feel right. What's interesting, and the great paradox of it, are the people who want to go home early, who have that thin veil, are also the ones, because the veil is so thin, have sensitivity to everything about the beach house, which is not just the nice views and everything else, but also everything that went into making the beach house the beach house. Like, they remember the construction crew that built it so well. And they remember the house crew that maintains it as well as they do. And they remember the engineering that went into it. And they remember all the different things. They remember, the city ordinances that created the zones that allowed the building to go up. They remember all these different things that they can bring into the Motel 6. And this is, in many ways, why so many people with a thin veil are very creative. And they can create beautiful art and music. And all these things that they create and writing are portals back home. So if you have somebody in that Motel 6, they're writing a beautiful poem about life on the beach. Like, what beach? We're in central Indiana in a Motel 6. What beach are you talking about? There's no beach here. What's a beach even? But you give them this beautiful vision of a beach and the sounds of the waves crashing upon the shore. And you're telling them all about it. And they're melting into it, because they're melting into remembrance of their own through your art and through your music and through your poetry and through your writing. They're melting into it because your thin veil allows you to tap into some of that. It's thin enough where you can break through it and bring some of that here. But the flip side of it is the thin veil also makes you remember that place, and it makes you long for that place, and it makes you yearn for that place. It makes you want to go home to that place. The ones who are super acclimated to the Motel 6 can't bring the art and the writing and the music to it, because their veil is too thick, because they don't remember it. That's why the people who are super well acclimated to life on Earth are not generally music makers and poetry creators, also called poets. My words are not there today. And just these creatives who can create something so beautiful and so luminous. And you wonder, where the hell does that come from? Well, that's where it comes from. But also, they're also the ones who leave early. They're the Chris Farleys, who are the great actors, and they're the Virginia Woolfs. And they're all these people who can tap into it and bring it in, but it's too damn much. The Robin Williamses, all of them, they're the ones who can tap into it, who have the thin veil, but because they remember, they can't stay here. And they're always drawn to go home. They're always drawn to come back. We call it suicidal, and we call it mental illness. There's nothing ill about wanting to go home. There's nothing broken about missing the comfort of your own bed. There's nothing sick about missing the embrace of your family. There's nothing broken about any of that. And when you decide, I've had enough of the motel and I want to go home, there's no shame in that. There's simple remembrance. That's all it is, my friends. It's remembrance. So if you happen to be on the ledge today, in any way, shape, or form, just know that I see you and I love you. And there's a reason you're there. It's because you remember. On a deep level, you remember something better. Because if something better didn't exist, and I want you to think about this really. If you think you're the broken one, for feeling like you want to end your life, if you feel like there's something wrong with you. You would not want to end your life if you thought this couldn't get better somewhere else or something better didn't exist. Because if you truly, truly believed that your predicament and what you're going through is all that is, and it can't possibly get better, then you would acclimate to it better than you are. You would actually say, okay, well, this is, why would I end my life? Because this is all life is. All right, good enough. Good enough. Same way if you were at a meal, you were at a restaurant, you're eating something, wasn't good at all. Really not good. I mean, terrible meal, awful. But if you believed you had no other meals waiting for you anywhere else, you couldn't go home and heat something up, you couldn't go to another restaurant, and the only meal you could possibly eat was at that restaurant that night, you'd suck it up and eat it. You're like, well, I don't like it, but what are you going to do, right? And that's how most people are. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? But if you knew there was another restaurant out there that was better, it's a great barbecue joint down the street, that was so much better than the dog food you were eating at that place. Even if you couldn't name where the barbecue restaurant was, but you felt it in your bones, there's something better out there waiting for me to eat tonight. Then you'd say, on blind faith, I'm going to walk out of this restaurant. I'm not going to finish this meal. Somehow I know something better is waiting, something easier, something lighter, something more delicious, something that won't wrap me around the toilet tonight. You just know that. And the same reason suicidal people leave is because they know something is better, something is lighter, something is easier. And even though, they signed up to come into this game to bring light into the Motel 6, doesn't mean it's easy. They knew it wasn't going to be easy. They went home. It is what it is. People leave bad vacations early all the freaking time. We don't judge them for that. So why would we judge them now? My friends, I'm just telling you this. You're not the broken one. You're not. Nothing is broken. This construct, even the Motel 6, is not broken. It's an experience. That's all it is. It's an experience. And it won't last forever. But ultimately, whether you chose or not is not relevant. You will go home. You will return to that beach house in Malibu. That's your birthright. That's who and what you really are. And it's waiting for you. So whether you decide to stay in the Motel 6 or go, it's entirely your choice. I'm not going to try to talk you into it one way or the other. I'll just tell you, no matter what you're feeling about it, it's valid. And it comes from a real place. You're not crazy. You're just homesick. I love you.